With technologies on the rise and becoming more and more relevant in our society, many teachers have found that often their students have more technological knowledge than they have, and as a result, have had to rethink their teaching methods, shifting from traditional nonlinear methods such as a long novel or basic pen and paper, to more technological, nonlinear formats in order to better accommodate the needs of a generation becoming increasingly accustomed to this nonlinear style.
One top problem that I think is have to be respectful with the incredible work that's done in the 20th century, still being done to some extent, on attempts to get the stream of our consciousness down on the page. And that problem is occasionally it's a little difficult to read stuff.
It's the old power of learning model of the discipline system. And it is what a lot of our learning system skills will largely be based upon, with your basic grammar studies occurring at the bottom until you gradually gain more and more expertise in language, rhetoric, and philosophy until you reach the pinnacle. And one person reaches the pinnacle, and everyone else sort of gathers little bits of information as they go up in expertise. So it's a great model, and as we talked about earlier, when we all know what sort of expertise it is that we're looking for. If it's language expertise, then it's very easy to see if we have if we're teaching the basics of language, of the English skills, and some people are going to become better at those skills and better at those skills, know more of the specifics of how rhetoric works, how knowledge works, until there's one person up at the top. And in a discipline, this has worked very well for us in the university system.
Now it's the case that often the, let's say, freshman undergraduate student might be more facile with computer objects than a tenured professor. And some professors find that condition threatening. And their response to it is to sort of draw a tight little boundary against the kind of cultural objects they'll consider in which they have established expertise and they can still be the expert.
The problem comes when rhetoric expands beyond this textual-based discipline, beyond the speech-based discipline, and there are other elements of practice that become involved that we don't know how to incorporate into this model. Back last fall, I personally became very aware of how this functioned when I was in a master's level graduate course learning the basics of how to do Flash for web design. I was working also with our mass communication department in undergraduate course in which they were learning the basics of Flash design. I also was substituting during that time period for a middle school computer science class, which was learning the basics of Flash design. From the master's, undergraduate, and middle school classes were all learning the exact same material. They were largely learning it from exactly the same sources. They were using different books, but those books were all popular press books that were coming off that were teaching the basic technical skills of how to do Flash.
It is clear that technologies have brought disruption to the traditional academic system and the professors that stick to traditional methods. But just how have these technologies affected students? And how do they differ from their professors?
Deep attention is the mode traditionally cultivated in the humanities where one focuses on a single object, say a Dickens novel, for a long period of time, wants to exclude all kinds of external stimuli, and has a very high threshold for diversion or boredom. In other words, they don't get bored reading a long Victorian novel. Hyperattention, on the contrary, is characterized by a preference for multiple information streams, a low threshold for boredom, and the ability to switch quickly between different information streams. But I think a younger student from the computer era might not look at the text first, might look at very different things, might focus on the music, might focus on the animation, might focus on the way the words rearrange themselves, and come up with a significantly different reading.
With technologies and software programs becoming more and more advanced and integrated into society, How does this impact teachers, and in what way can they utilize these technologies?
So being able to critically look at all of these programs and see how they're used is something that needs to be looked at and analyzed. And we need to decide where in our disciplines we need to be able to teach the use of these programs and what sort of rigor we're going to take a look at using in that fashion.
As teachers, ideally what we should do is start where the students are. And we can't start where the students are if we don't know what the students are doing, what they're reading, how they're writing their papers, how they're doing research. But I think, again, the Academy is really lagging behind contemporary writing practices, and we need a much better understanding of the environments in which writing is done.